Hey there, welcome to Super Stock Bros. My name is Ace, and today we're going to be following up with the plays that we were talking about the other video, as well as some picks to look forward to in the future. Stay tuned. Alright, so it was a nice green day on the market. Pretty much everything is up. All of the plays that I listed in the previous video were basically just rocketing. There was a chance to make the calls that I suggested for Mara and Riot yesterday, or I should say April 7th. That's when everything was down a few percentages. I think Mara and Riot were actually down 10% each. And I mentioned that they always go through some swings. I thought it was going to be going a little bit lower, but it ended up just rocketing up the next day. So there was a chance, and if you took that chance, congrats to you. I unfortunately didn't make it in on time, but I'm glad to see that our strategy was validated. So that would have worked out quite well if you did a weekly, which I mean is risky, but if you're watching these price movements, it's actually pretty wild, then you would have hit it huge. You would have actually got 300% or so. So congrats on that one. Now, going into our swing bullet, I did make a play, and it actually netted us 20% as planned. What I did was I bought up 100 shares of Airbnb. I sold covered calls on it. They're actually near-term covered calls about 40 days out. And I also sold cash secured puts with the margin that I was given because I bought those shares. So this is like part of the bigger strategy. You want to build up your long-term portfolio, although I sold covered calls, but you use the long-term portfolio margin to sell cash secured puts. It's almost like, you know, getting free energy or whatever to expend, and that energy brings you back money, right? If you play any video games or anything like that. So that's what we did. I'll show the actual play later on, but it brings up our swing bullet to about $24,500. So we're making very good progress on our goal here, and you're gonna see this keep happening because now I'm using a more consistent method. I wanted to go at first all, you know, SPACs and everything like that, but it just was too slow for this type of journey that I'm trying to go on here. So I'm proving to everybody, even in a super bull market, you can still make money buying in at the top, okay? You know, usually you shouldn't buy shares at the top, but what you can do is you can buy these, you can sell options, or you can buy puts or calls on the way up, right? So that's first, and I can actually dive into the plays in a second here. Now, I did want to go over just very quickly our selected plays. I put up 26 symbols. There was a lot to pick from. My main ones were actually Tesla, Neo, Airbnb, Microsoft, and CrowdStrike, and these actually rose up pretty nicely. I did mention, obviously, Etsy was the main ticker of the last video, so I did make a lot of money on that put. I still haven't cashed out of position yet, so it's not locked in. But as you can see, I went from you know, trying to secure 3,300 to, and let me just hide my camera here. You can see that we secured so far already 25% of that, right? So this is simply, I didn't pay any money for this. I just used some of my buying power, and I sold 2 cash secured puts. My buying power, it cost me about $11,000 of buying power. So I just had to, you know, reassure my brokerage that I could pay that off. I didn't take out any margin, okay? So I'm never going to go into the negative margin, so I'm not going to go into loan territory. But basically, this just means that if I have to come up with $40,000 because it's 2 cash secured puts at 200, then I would have to pay it back, right? So I do have that guarantee. The brokerage trusts me, and that's why they gave me this margin. Now, you can also find other brokerages that give you more margin or less margin depending on your circumstances, but basically that ability netted me $800 on $11,000 of buying power. So, you know, I'm getting already a very good percentage back on my investment. So that's about 8%. And I'm going for the full, like I mentioned in another video, I'm going for the full, you know, 25 to 30. So it's pretty wild how much that they were offering for Etsy. And maybe they thought Etsy was being volatile at the time, but honestly, Etsy is just an incredible stock company, and they have great revenues, and I really believe in them. So that's why it was the headliner for the last video. And speaking of headliners, Airbnb is the one that we're talking about today. Now, as I mentioned, Airbnb in the last video, I said that it was a great company. I can see it making it into the S&P 500, you know, by 2025. I think it's just such a good company. So at these prices, I think it's a great buy. It's one of the stocks that are actually not up that big, right? If you look at all of the plays that we saw, that we listed, it's only slightly positive, right? Meanwhile, you have huge moves like BLNK and BIDU. You know, Blink was a huge one. You have ChargePoint not going up that too much. It actually did a bit of a swing. But Etsy was a big one. I pointed that out. Always believe in IPOF warrants, especially because this was one of the main reasons why we got into it. IPOF will always rise with IPOD and IPOC and IPOE. So just keep that in mind. And that's why we kept it, right? And it's just going to keep going. As soon as they actually get a merger announcement, this thing's going to rocket. Mara made the comeback, as I mentioned. You know, all of these picks were just incredible, right? The one I'm most proud of was, actually, I brought it up a few days ago. It was Futu. Futu made it huge. Futu, incredible. So I had the cash secured put at 135. I advertised it in the Discord chat. Hope people got in with me, but yeah, it went to 160. Okay, so the play that we made on Airbnb was, as I mentioned, I bought 100 shares. I sold a covered call at 190. I really do think it's going to go above 190, so I'm kind of just betting on the timeline here, and if I'm wrong, I can just roll it out a little bit further if I want to, but I don't mind losing these shares. Another thing is I sold the cash secured put at 185. So notice this put is in the money. I got a lot of money for it, but at the same time I'm risking assignment because it's already in the money. At any time someone might just pull the trigger and say, hey, I want to sell you my shares now at 185 for whatever reason. Unlikely, but it is possible. But I do see that Airbnb is probably going to go above this by May 21st, right? So this is a pretty bullish play. So how much did I get from this play? Well, I sacrificed $18,000 because I actually bought the Airbnb, and then I got $1,000 right away because I sold a covered call. So I'm already recovering, you know, a good 7% of my initial investment instantly, and then I sold a cash secured put with the margin that I had given to me because I bought you know, $18,000 worth of stocks. So they give me about like a third margin or something like that, and I use that margin to sell a cash secured put. So I'm using this money to make money more than once, right? So well, how much did I get from that? I got $1,600, and that cost me a margin of about, you know, $8,000 or something like that. So again, that's a return of $2,600 on $1,800, right? Which is incredible. And, you know, if all goes well, you know, my max gain is, you're looking at around, you know, 3,000, 3,600-ish. And if that happens, then, you know, we've secured the 20% that we were looking for. And I don't mind keeping Airbnb forever. Like, so even in the worst case, for this particular play, Airbnb could fall to, you know, 175 or something like that. I keep the covered call premium, and then I just have to buy 100 more shares at 185, which I don't mind doing. Like I said, the range 175 to 190 is great, and I really do think as soon as it breaks above 190, it's gonna rocket, you know, pretty much nonstop, especially after they release their numbers. So that was the play, and we are on track. I'm loving this. I'm gonna keep updating this chart for everybody to see. It's not going to take very long to get up to this level. It might actually, you know, throughout the year we'll see how far we go, but this is actually starting to become a very viable goal. Okay, just a very quick mention. People have been asking me about Bridgetown and why it shot up today. So the warrants actually went up about 30%, which is a nice gain. I saw it reflected in my swing portfolio because I do have the Bridgetown units still. The great thing is Altimeter is going to merge with Grab, so this is still validation for SPACs. It's still alive, and I do think that the money is filtering down from the less risky stocks to the riskier stocks once again, if this bull run continues especially. And SPACs, being on the riskier side, are seeing some of those gains. So one of the things is with Altimeter merging with Grab, it's still very likely that Tokopedia is going to merge with Bridgetown Holdings. Now, I thought it was out of range just because Tokopedia was trying to find other merge targets, get bigger, and then list or do a direct listing. But it's still on the table, and people are actually thinking that it's quite possible. And remember, I had a bunch of reasons in my video that I created about 3 months ago for the best SPACs to own now with Bridgetown, and I gave all the reasons why it would be a great choice for Richard Lee and Peter Thiel, the Bridgetown founders, to merge with Tokopedia, and vice versa. So we'll see what happens. I do believe that's why Bridgetown shot up. There is no confirmation of a merger yet, but it might be coming soon. Just keep watching Bridgetown, and who knows, maybe we will hit the gold mine with the merger coming up. So keep that in mind. Okay, so that's it for me today, Stock Bros. The pick, if you didn't notice, was Airbnb. I strongly recommend that you should check it out, do your due diligence. If you like the stock, keep it in your long-term portfolio and then sell covered calls on it, or use your margin if it's possible to sell cash secured puts or something like that. Whatever your risk tolerance is, whatever your position is, just keep that in mind, because if your cash secured put falls below the strike price, then of course you have to be able to buy 100 shares, so you need the money for that. For myself, I accept that risk. I would love to buy 100 shares at 185. In fact, I bought them at 180. I didn't want to wait for a cash secured put and then to miss my opportunity on the covered call as well. So I just bought it and then immediately made some profit, and hopefully I can make profit both ways. I really do think it's possible. So we're keeping on track with our goal, and it's looking good. And Stock Bros will continue to make those gains.